everyone, thanks again for coming back and watching my Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm going to be looking at Season 1, Episode 10, which is called The Carriers. So Dan starts this one out by going to a take-your-own-photo booth to get his instructions. We're told that an enemy agent named Janos Pasek is recruiting and training hundreds of people as part of a bacteriological warfare campaign against the United States. The mission? Get into the camp and neutralize Pasek's current and future plans. In the dossier scene, Dan selects only Rollin and guest agent Roger Lee, played by George Takei, from Star Trek, Sulu, even though the rest of the team is part of the mission. It's really weird. I'm guessing that there need to be some sort of cut for time purposes, which is why they didn't show the other members of the team. So Dan tells the team that the training center, located obviously behind the Iron Curtain, has a mothballed movie theater with an elevator that goes down to the key laboratory they'll have to find, and Pasek has the only key. Ominously says that they won't be able to get out of the facility, although he hints that there is a way out. Mail deliverer Willie, we were apparently in East Berlin, that's my guess. Mail deliverer Willie switches the door numbers on the buildings in which the trainees are to arrive. Fortunately for the IMF, said trainees turned out to be one Caucasian male, one Caucasian female, one African male, and one Oriental male. Boy, that's convenient. Our troop gets the spy speak codes required, put the trainees on ice, and prepare to take their places. Our four agents are given their new American names and taken to a training center, which is made up to be a small American town called Willow Grove, Illinois, with all of the Andy Griffith-like trappings of the 1960s. Pasek appears as John Peterson and explains that the group is going through their final testing as normal Americans, and they'll be trained for their new jobs around the country. They go to their rooms and the men are immediately confronted as imposters, with police breaking in, but Rollin thinks quickly and does the American thing, demanding a warrant and his rights, earning applause from Pasek. It was a test to see what they would do in that kind of situation had they been caught, and they passed the test. The troop reassemble at the Go-Go place where Cinnamon is being trained. It doesn't look like Barbara Bay needed a lot of help learning this, but whatever, where they discuss needing a sample of the culture for Roger to analyze. And Cinnamon is going to have to get Pasek's key so that they can do what they need to do in the lab. Rollin gets out of his class and gets some waste from a pipe near the lab, getting caught by one of Pasek's men, who collects a cigarette that Rollin was smoking, I guess for some sort of analysis later. Roger analyzes the sample that Rollin got and finds it to be plague bacteria transmitted by human contact, which explains why everyone is being trained for jobs that require being around lots of people. Rollin glumly figures out what the plan is. The trainees are going to be infected and transmit the plague throughout the United States. They die, and it can't be traced back to them. Roger indicates that the trainees, including the four agents, may already be infected, but Rollin disagrees. It would tip off the plan if they were infected too early and some of them died. Cinnamon visits Pasek, as only she can. They head back to his quarters, and she's able to get a soap cast of his key and pass it out the door, or out the window, to Rollin so that Barney can make a duplicate of the lab key. Meanwhile, Willie and Dan free the poor would-be trainees who have been bound and gagged all this time. I really hope none of them had to go to the bathroom or anything like that. Anyway, Barney injects some kinds of acid into the facility's power lines so that they can knock out the lights for a few minutes and get down to the lab. Pasek wants to go investigate, but Cinnamon holds him at gunpoint. Barney destroys the key they made and uses a welding torch to simulate an unsuccessful break-in, as Roger and Rollin find the cultures and prepare to neutralize them by adding 3 drops of the antibiotic iomycin. Not sure if that's a real antibiotic, I don't believe it is, to each. Of course, nothing is ever simple, and on the last culture, Rollin breaks a glass and is infected. Dun, dun, dun. Cinnamon allows herself to be overpowered by Pasek and led to the lab by him and his men. Roger tries to find a needle to inject Rollin with the antibiotic, but can't find one before Pasek arrives. Satisfied that they didn't get into the lab, Pasek takes the gang to his office and starts smacking Rollin and then Cinnamon around to try and get information, then decides to play Russian roulette with them. Fortunately, Dan and Willie arrive with the actual trainees just as Pasek is about to get super serious with that gun, but not before Rollin lunges at him and draws blood. Colonel Dan takes the four away for questioning, and Barney is able to MacGyver an IV for Rollin out of some of the stuff from Cinnamon's purse, so that Roger can administer the antibiotic. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this one a grade of B+. It's a good episode. It's the one thing that stands out to me is the quality of the mission. This is exactly the sort of thing that I think the IMF should be taking on. It requires a team. It requires, a little bit of detective work, figuring out, formulating a plan. And, you may need some specialist agents. This is the kind of thing where, it's not just about, using some kind of heavy-handed techniques. You've got to be careful, and you've got to use, some stealth and some thinking. Speaking of specialists, having George Takei along as a specialist agent fits perfectly. It completely makes sense, and, he's a good actor. He really holds his own in this episode. That said, it is a good quality mission, but the plot is pretty contrived, to say the least. It's also rather inaccurate from a scientific perspective. Bacteria doesn't work that way. Plague can be controlled. Obviously, we know nowadays with COVID about how terrible, bacterial and viral infections can be for other reasons than not having, the ability to control it once somebody is infected. We've got other problems. Don't have to go there. So that's a little bit tough for me. There's a lot of coincidences in the plot, I think, that give it a little bit of difficulty for me to deal with in its structure. Not bad, just that's something that I noticed. Another thing is the villains aren't really that smart. Pasek, for everything that he's trying to do, really is not even close to being as smart as he thinks he is. And even his second in command, played by Barry Russo, he's also not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Another thing that I really didn't like is kind of the stereotype of 60s America. I called it kind of, the Andy Griffith, Mayberry sort of vibe. And again, tough to discuss that without seeming overly political or anything like that. I certainly don't want to go down that road. Maybe that's what those audiences expected in TV portrayals, right? Maybe that's kind of the foreign perspective on what small-town America was like, or maybe all of America was like. There was no internet then, and people didn't have a lot of knowledge about how America really worked. It just seems very, very contrived, stereotypical. I don't know, that turned me off a little bit. Having to have the trainees learn, hey, let's talk about football so that you understand a little bit about it. And, get used to eating hot dogs and ordering those sorts of things. I'm like, okay, is this really how people perceive that people lived in America and North America at the time? Maybe they did in other parts of the world. I don't really know, but it was just kind of weird for me. Anyway, that said, I'll stick with my grade of a B+ on this one. I just want to, on a final note here, this one really is kind of a breakout episode for Martin Landau as Rollin. He takes the lead here because, again, as I've kind of alluded to in other episodes, I think this was another time where Stephen Hill was not really happy about the amount of time and effort that he had to put in the show. He had other reasons for them. He had some, religious duties that he wanted to fulfill and all of that, which is fine. Nobody should ever fault anybody for doing what they feel was important, but it was just difficult for the producers to accommodate him and still keep the show going the way that they want to. So in this case, and you'll see this in some future episodes as well, Landau as Rollin basically takes the lead. You'll note that Landau is not part of the opening credits in the first season. He's always a special guest star. And that's because he actually wasn't under contract like the other actors. He wanted to keep his options open to see how things would shake out with the series. Ironically, he was considered for the role of Mr. Spock on Star Trek, which of course went to Leonard Nimoy. And in a couple of seasons, that will be kind of an interesting twist. Um, it seems from what I've read in Patrick White, and as a matter of fact, I found it. I should maybe point this out right now. If anybody wants to go look this up, this is available on Amazon, and I highly recommend it. The Complete Mission Impossible Dossier. It's written by Patrick White. You can find it very easily on Amazon and other places. Grab it. It's got some fantastic information there. Episodes like this are what kept Martin Landau involved in the series. This is where he started to really enjoy it and kind of got pushed forward and got some really, really great acting parts. And that's what made him want to stay on for another couple of seasons. And I, for one, am really glad he did because, this episode is a testament to his ability to carry a good story, take the lead, and really, really give us something good to watch. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this episode. It was a good one. Next week, we're going to talk about one which is not quite up to the level of this. Let's just say that. It'll be called Zubrovnik's Ghost. So anyway, please leave some comments. I'd love to hear what other people have to say about the episode. Please give me a like for this episode. Hopefully you did enjoy it. And please subscribe to my channel. More videos will be coming soon, and I very, very much look forward to that. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.